Hey guys, so I wanted to make a video today about walking in the woods, and it's kind of going to be a part two to my first video, my other video about owl eyes, about using our visual senses in the woods, and that one was kind of go back and watch it if you haven't, but that one was about kind of readapting our visual, our way of seeing in the woods to see more things and to embrace a little bit of stillness and allow things to happen, and then being able to see it rather than having our tunnel vision. And so today I want to talk about walking in the woods, and and so I think these kind of videos were kind of came to me as a way of bushcraft and outdoors has become big business in a way, right? And when things get big and popular, so we have all these segments, right? The rewilding movement, the paleo diet type stuff. So the way we eat, the outdoor movement stuff, the outdoor exercising, and bushcraft, and all these different things. And the way environmentalism is changing and being appreciated as a thing, and we're being faced with it too. Like out west here with the drought and things, we're forced to pay attention to the forces of nature. So all these things I think, nature is in our conscious more than it has been in the past, maybe. It seems to me anyway. Along with that has come the big, business aspect of it too. And so, the gear review channels have way more views, way more subscribers than I have, or channels like mine have. And there's nothing wrong with gear. I appreciate a big fancy expensive knife made by there's a good side and a bad side, right? So the good side is there's all these people now practicing all these old school skills, blacksmithing, leatherworking, and that kind of thing that otherwise wouldn't have been able to do that. Where we run into a problem is maybe along the lines of, if you look at music, right? So there's music that's, let's use rock music for an example, heavy metal or whatever. So, in the 60s, 70s, we got, the Beatles, the Who, Led Zeppelin, that kind of thing, that it became more forefront. And but it was still, pretty epic musicians making pretty epic music. Into the 80s, you had Rush and, ZZ Top and, whatever. And again, it was still, it was changing and evolving, but still a thing. But then by the mid to end 80s, the record companies took over and wanted to make money, and that was the goal, was to make money. So you ended up with this sweet cherry pie, glam band thing that was a commercial endeavor. It wasn't about the music anymore, right? And so we have to be careful with that in bushcraft too, is to make sure we keep it about our relationship with nature. And if I'm a knife collector, then I'm going to collect knives, and there's nothing wrong with that. If I want to blend the two, and that's okay too. In the music world, and as musicians, we call it gas, right? So you have sometimes that guitarist that plays on, on stuff he found at flea markets or whatever, and he plays in the corner bar, and he's fantastic, right? He's epic. He can make a crappy guitar sound as good as Jimi Hendrix. And then you have the guy with, tens of thousands of dollars invested in equipment, but he really hasn't spent the time playing as much as he should, maybe. And or maybe he just doesn't have the talent or whatever. But so gear acquisition syndrome is what we call it in the music industry, and it cracks me up. I love it. But so we need to be careful of that, and make sure we always keep things, we don't lose sight of what's important, and so not to have one excluding the other, and not to think bushcraft is the acquisition of gear. It's not. And it can be part of it, but that's gotten to be a huge focus, and we need to be cautious of that. So I know people that, like, I use my channel to promote nature. I use it to promote, teach maybe some leatherworking. I have people that ask me, about life skills. They want to know about opening a craft business and stuff. And I love coaching people on, you know, starting a business, getting away from the 9 to 5, and you know, getting rid of the boss and doing their own thing. And so that's fun. And you know, and then I use it, of course, to promote my leatherwork business. I mean, that's part of it. But and so if I did gear reviews all the time, I'd have way more visitors. But that's not, and that would presumably transfer into more sales for my leatherwork business. But ultimately, I have to follow what's in my heart and what's important to me, and that's that anybody that runs across my channel cultivates the love for the outdoors and nature and appreciation for that. So thank you for listening to me ramble a little bit, and it probably should have been its own video, but it wasn't. So anyway, I tend to do this. Anybody that's been watching for a while knows. And I'm not saying what you have to do, but I'm just saying my approach and why I do the things the way I do. So let's talk about this walking in the woods thing. We've all been out there, and we're guilty of this ourselves, and we've seen and heard people do this, where we jump out of the car, sling on our gear, and then go trudging through the woods, and it's crash, bang, you know, stomp, 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 stomp. And we've all done this, right? We walk out to our spot, making all kinds of noise, with our tunnel vision on, not really, you know, maybe even we think we're paying attention, but we're missing a lot. We're making so much noise, anything that was alive within a mile radius is gone. And then we sit down and we get our stuff out, and we practice our skills and do our thing for however long we're out there, and then crash our way back. Or we've been in our spot and had people come through, and you know, we're getting to our place where we're that peaceful, immersed in nature, right? We're not distracted with our phones anymore. We're not, no TV, nothing like that, no job that we're worried about at the moment. We're finally getting that peaceful feeling, that thing that nature brings to all of us, and that thing where we're all, you know, we're alone with what's in our heads, right? We're alone with ourselves, and we have to face that, looking at ourselves truly in the mirror. And it's a fantastic place to be. But then then some other group comes through, right? And kind of, boom, all that's kind of gone, isn't it, for a little bit? So I wanted to talk today about walking and about traveling through the woods in a way that maybe the animals aren't going to run away. We're just kind of in the same zone as the nature is around us, and so that, you know, we can kind of be on the same wavelength, I guess. I don't know, that nature is, that the trees are, and that kind of thing, that we're not so contrary to the environment. And so I'm going to change the camera around, and I'm going to show you a little bit about what I do. First, let me show you a little bit about what I wear on my feet. Sometimes it's barefoot, but in the lower elevations in the California and the Oaklands here, that in the drier climates, we do get, you know, those plants that you've all seen, the drier environment plants, and they have spikes and blades and barbs on them and stuff like that. So going barefoot around here sometimes is a little shifty, depending on where I am. Also, some areas are we're volcanic, you know, so we get a lot of sharp rocks and things. So typical hiking boot, and you know, it makes it's kind of what we all wear, right? They are stiff, you know, and for me it feels like walking with 2x4s strapped to my feet. I can barely tell the difference. Now, if you can get skilled to use these in a way that I'm going to show you, then please share with me the secret. So I've gone to a couple things. I have moccasins that are just leather. The bottoms are leather, and so they're very flexible and very lightweight, and so it allows me to feel the ground and be in touch with my environment more than the hiking boot would. Also, you have the Minimalist shoes. You guys have all seen the Vibrams with the toe finger cutout things and stuff. If you like those, great. This is the exact same thing, but it has a toe box instead of the cutouts, you know, for the toes. But you can still see it's the same idea. It's got that Vibram sole on it, very thin, and I've had these. This is probably what I wear in the woods most, to be honest, and I've had this pair for 3 years, so they're not cheap, but they last a long time, and they're very flexible and protects your feet while allowing you to feel almost everything that's going on below your feet. And lightweight, so you can walk a long way without weight on your feet. And so it's just a completely different experience, and it's wonderful. It takes a while to get used to, but once you get used to it, it makes all the difference. And also, if you notice this shape here, it's not shaped like the usual shoe. It's shaped more like your actual foot. So after years of wearing shoes, my feet, and yours might be doing the same, if you can picture it, we're kind of doing this, a little bit, right? So my toes were kind of smushed in just from putting them into that shoe shape. And now I have wide feet to begin with. Now, after wearing Minimalist shoes for probably 2 or 3 years now, 3 years, because I've had this pair for 3 years, because this is the first model. They're up to the 3rd line now. This is the Merrell Trail Runner, I want to say. Trail Glove. So this is the first one, and they're on the 3rd one now, and I still have the first one. So I put these through a lot of use, and they're great. But anyway, so now with this nice large wide toe box that's actually shaped like a foot, my feet are back to spread out. So now my feet look like this, and with wide feet, jamming my feet into normal shoes anymore is kind of weird for me. And but I think with that we get increased stability. Our arches and all our muscles in our feet, when we're using these kinds of shoes, get stronger, and actually our feet start functioning the way our feet evolutionarily, biologically, are defined to work. They're shaped the way they are for a reason. And so we have arches. I have mild arches. I've been told I have semi-flat feet, but even still, my feet now they just work a whole lot better. My balance is better. They're spread out. They contact with the ground a lot better, and all the muscles are forced to work out when you have shoes like this on. So to me, it's been nothing but a plus. It's been helping my knees a lot, and it helps my agility and dexterity when hiking and that kind of thing. And now I can carry weight on my back and stuff. I don't need boots like this. I don't need the ankle support and things like that. So I think that is all a myth. I think injuries happen when we coddle ourselves too much. So imagine taking to the equivalent of today's hiking boots and doing that to your arm for month after month after month, where you brace it into place in everything you do, so your hand doesn't move much, your wrist doesn't move much, your elbow doesn't move much. And imagine the atrophy that would happen, and then take that off and try to use it normally, and then you get an injury, and then you blame it because you're not wearing the right kind of shoe or brace on your arm, right? So I think that's the same as this whole ankle protection idea. This is not medical advice. It's my idea. It's my theory. I think we've, since we were young, we had to wear shoes like this with all this support, and our feet were never allowed to exercise. And so then we get injury when we don't have all that support. So anyway, and the last thing is these old moccasins I made for myself a while back, and they're all stretched out and beat up now, but I can throw these in a pack and use them around camp. And I tend not to go for long hikes like these on our bare feet, just again because of the terrain around here. When I'm in other places, sometimes it's feels like walking in cotton candy, so I go barefoot, but not here. But that's something you have to decide for your area. But ease into it, okay? If you're going to try this, ease into it. Get yourself some moccasins or some barefoot shoes, and I would suggest these. Honestly, they're just awesome. The Merrell Trail gloves are fantastic, but find the equivalent that you like, and wear them for an hour or two a day for a couple weeks, and allow your feet to get used to the whole thing, okay? So, just like if you start walking barefoot, you kind of have to ease into it and allow your feet to get used to it, working new muscles, the bottoms of your feet toughening up and that kind of thing. So let's go on to the walking thing, because this is getting long, and I get long-winded, and I apologize. Every video I apologize for that, don't I? Let me switch the camera around, and we'll do that part. Okay, I hope you can see this okay. So I have my shoes off here, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So some people call this fox walking, and I've seen different versions of this, but this is the one that the way I do it. And the point is, the reason why we do this is to move quietly, move stealthily. So if you're stalking for hunting, if you just want to kind of blend in with your environment and not be such an obvious force out there, this is a way to move quietly and slowly. So the point is to slow down, to be more kind of integrated into nature, into the environment, and that again, can be good for hunting or stalking. Some people photo hunt, get as close as they can to animals and take pictures, so on and so forth. But to me, it's just a good way to be in the woods, just a good way to be part of it, and a good skill to practice, a good traditional skill to practice. So let me show you how this works. What we do is, I don't know, it's hard for me to see over there what you can see, but I have, my knees are going to be kind of just bent a little bit. So my knees aren't going to be locked, they're going to be bent just a little bit. And I'm going to walk with basically one foot in front of the other, right? And rather than landing, when we walk, we tend to land on our heels, right? And with bare feet, or with any of the, kind of traditional, or the minimalist shoes that I use, you don't want to land on your heels. And so with this, what we do is we take slow, small steps. So we do maybe a foot, foot and a half at a time. And then we touch down with the ball of our feet. While this knee is bent just a little bit, just touch with the ball of your feet. And that way you can kind of feel the ground, right? So if you're deer hunting or whatever, and you feel a twig there, you can move your foot. And you're not going to, snap that twig. So if I have twigs there, I can feel that, right? So before I crunch down and make all kinds of noise, I can move my foot to the side and not make all that noise. So I set my foot down, I feel the terrain, I feel anything that's in the way, and then if I'm good with that, then I can put my whole foot down, but I still don't have any weight on it. And once everything feels good, then I can transfer my weight onto that foot, right? And then I do the same thing again, where I touch with the ball of my foot and feel okay, lower my foot down, everything feels okay, then I transfer my weight onto that foot, okay? And again, it's one foot in front of the other. I'm not doing, let me do it towards you. So I'm going one foot, everything feels alright, lowering my foot down, now I transfer the weight. And you really want to do this slow. So that's the idea. And then for me, I extrapolated from this to, there's times when we want to move through the woods faster than that, right? And I think we all could use slowing down and practicing being slow. So work on that for sure. Work on what I just showed you. And it's fun too. But when I move through the woods quicker, and again with these kinds of shoes, I'm not going to walk through the woods and be like banging on my heels. That just, it hurts with minimal shoes. So that's why we have these tennis shoes with an inch of padding, right? Because we walk all weird nowadays. But our feet aren't designed for that. Our feet are designed to land, and use the full foot, use that arch, use that spring, that natural spring. When we do this, we take all that natural spring out. So what I do even when I walk faster is I land one of two ways. I increase my stride and I land on my ball of my foot and then lower it down. So I can do that with longer strides. Or sometimes I will put my foot down more flat but a little bit on the side, right? And so I have a little bit of spring there. And then I just kind of rotate it down just a little bit. So I'm exaggerating a bit now, but try it yourself and you can feel it where you kind of go more flat. and then just give it, it's kind of like almost exaggerating your natural arch a little bit, and then lower it down and move. So I can walk pretty quickly that way. I can walk at a normal pace, and by doing that, and I don't really have a long enough camera to show you, but so maybe you saw that okay. Anyway, and from the top, the slow walk will look like this. And then if I run into my sticks, so it's dark out, right? Or sun is not quite coming up yet and you're getting out to the deer area or whatever, you're going to watch deer and take pictures. I feel those sticks there. I don't want to crunch them. I feel another one there. So I put my foot down here. So anyway, flip my screen around there. That's the idea. I hope you enjoyed that, and please give it a try. Go out there and look back at the owl eye video that I had, and kind of just take a few minutes and try that one. Then try this walking thing and see how that goes for you, and just try, it takes some practice, just like anything else. It's a skill, and any skill, anything worth doing, takes practice. So yeah, but it's fun, it really is, and you notice you start to kind of get more connected with the woods around you. And so anyway, give it a try, practice it for a while, and leave comments below. I want to hear about your experiences. Have you done these kinds of things? And do you have a variation, or have you done it the way I showed you? And what your experiences are with it, and how has it changed the way you experience nature? So anyway, thanks for watching as always, guys, and I'll talk to you next time.